Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Leeper. Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Crime Prevention Ottawa has a mission to contribute to crime prevention and enhance community safety and well-being in Ottawa through collaborative, evidence-based initiatives. The Board of Crime Prevention Ottawa is mandated to have top decision makers in the areas of public health, municipal politics, funding, social housing, K-12 education, policing, child protection, and emergency services. It also includes community members who are leaders in anti-Black racism, various faith communities, the health and mental health sectors, and the local business community. Crime Prevention Ottawa engages a broad spectrum of community and agency stakeholders in its crime prevention initiatives and listens to these stakeholders, exploring existing research to identify gaps and supports that people need to live safely. We then nurture these partnerships that allow for a holistic approach to address these gaps. I want to highlight some of the accomplishments that this organization has had over the past several years. In 2023, we've revamped our funding model to center equity, diversity, and inclusion via a transparent granting process. The process recognizes the best strategies to reduce harm in the community often come from the people with lived experience or from agencies that work closely alongside them. As a result, 13 of the projects that CPO funded this year went to grassroots agencies and efforts. We also launched an evaluation community of practice that brings together major local funders of social services to seek ways to synergize our efforts so that we can improve our services, better understand the impacts of our efforts, and to tell a more compelling story of our shared successes and challenges. Last year, we funded a participatory research project on increasing the safety of downtown drug users, which produced a report with 9 recommended projects to improve community safety. In 2021, CPO funded a safety needs assessment for 2S LGBTQ youth, which identified a need for safe spaces for these youth, resulting in an effective pilot project. CPO also co-hosted a series of 8 webinars showcasing local, national, and international examples of alternate responses to the mental health crises. The Ottawa Paramedic Service said that these webinars helped to shape the creation of the mental health response team. Also that year, CPO published a report outlining the systemic barriers to employment that young men with criminal records face. And since then, CPO has advocated at the local and provincial levels to reduce those barriers. The board also signed on to the Fair Chances Coalition Pledge, which actively seeks Canadian organizations to share its commitment and begin the journey to enact fair chance hiring practices in their organizations. In the first year of the pandemic, CPO was an instrumental partner and funder in launching the Unsafe at Home Ottawa chat and text service to support survivors living in situations of gender-based violence. This innovative service garnered interest across Canada. This was concurrent to the launch of a youth arts microgrant program to support mental health needs of young people to virtually connect and express themselves in a time when many in-person youth services were shuttered. I just thought it was important at this time to highlight some of the diverse outcomes that Crime Prevention Ottawa has been a part of, and I'd be remiss to highlight these achievements without acknowledging the outstanding leadership of the acting executive director, Ahmed Lukman, who's worn many hats over the past several years, and right now is acting and running the ship basically on his own, as we've been lacking an executive director for the last several years. So I'd ask my colleagues if we could just show some appreciation to Mr. Lukman. Could you just stand up for a moment? Thank you very much, Ahmed. I'm aware, Mr. Mayor, that changes in provincial legislation have evolved us to the place where there are mandate overlaps, both with community safety and well-being and Crime Prevention Ottawa. And it does make sense to align these structures in order to both increase efficiency and streamline our operations. However, this transition needs to be managed deliberately and carefully in order to ensure that we're getting the best of both institutions combined and not simply watering down their collective outputs. As such, I've asked our Vice Chair, Kitts, if she would offer 3 directions to staff, and assuming that those are accepted by our staff, then Mr. Mayor, to be clear, as the board chair for Crime Prevention Ottawa, I believe that this dissolution and transition process is appropriate and it will have my full support. I acknowledge that change always comes with friction, a bit of risk and uncertainty, but I do believe that with leadership in both organizations, we can see an outcome whereby the city is better served in its overall crime prevention mandate through aligning the strategic resources under the Community and Social Services Directorate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hill, and thank you for your leadership of Crime Prevention Ottawa and your collaboration during this transition process. It's much appreciated.